My name is Heather Engen, and I'm part of the R&D team here at the Center for Innovative Technology. If you attended any of our previous webinars, you know that CIT manages the Commonwealth Research Commercialization Fund, or CRCF. Today's presentation will provide an overview of the budget component of a CRCF application. We'll go over the budget and budget narrative. I will also discuss the matching funds requirement for each of our programs. I'll share some tips for things to look out for and errors to avoid. We want to help you prepare a strong proposal, and getting the budget right is a big part of that. Today's presentation won't cover anything else about the application process, so if you weren't able to participate in yesterday's application webinar, that presentation should be available on our website by the end of the week. The PowerPoint is already posted. We recommend that you review those materials for additional insights. There will be another session of each webinar in January, so you would also be welcome to register for either or both of those sessions. Matching funds are a component of all of our funding programs. What are matching funds? Matching funds are monies provided in at least an equivalent amount to the monies being requested from CRCF for all projects. For the SBIR and STTR matching funds programs, this match is fulfilled by the federal SBIR or STTR grant. So it's a little different than the other programs, but all of our programs do have a matching fund component. For our other three funding programs, these funds may come from a variety of sources, and I'll give you some examples in a few minutes. But matching funds may be cash or in-kind monies that equal or exceed the amount of funding requested from CRCF. For multi-year projects, matching funds must mirror both the annual and total CRCF requests. So, for example, if you're requesting $100,000 over the course of 2 years, $50,000 each year, then your match must match or exceed $50,000 each year. Matching funds must be active and available during the CRCF period of performance and be specific to the proposed project. Matching funds may certainly exceed the one-to-one requirement. For example, in the case of the SBIR or STTR matching funds programs, not only does the federal grant always exceed the maximum $50,000 match, but an applicant may also provide additional matching funds. This increased leverage benefit to the Commonwealth is regarded favorably during our review process. There are several sources of monies that are not eligible for matching funds. Monies may not come from other CIT programs, including CIT gap funds and Mach 37. Previous CRCF awards are not eligible as a match. State contracts or grants also may not be used for matching funds, which include other funding programs such as VBHRC or the Catalyst, CHRB, or VRIF. The one exception to this is for university applicants. Waived salaries or indirects, which may be considered state monies, are eligible as a CRCF match. Matching funds monies may not be expended before or after the CRCF period of performance. For example, if an applicant secured funds for a 3-year federal grant and is wrapping up year 1 of the period of performance, the amount of award already expended cannot be used as a match, nor can funds that would be expended after the CRCF project ends. For the SBIR and STTR matching funds programs, the only constraints are on the period of performance of the federal award. So in that case, it doesn't matter when, if you've already used monies or if you'll be using monies after. But for the other 3 funding programs, the monies have to be used during the CRCF project. Matching funds cannot be secured after CRCF award is made. As I already mentioned, matching funds may be cash or in-kind and could come from the applicant, a partner, or another third-party contributor, provided they meet the aforementioned criteria. They could include the waived salaries and/or fringe benefits of team members, materials, supplies, equipment purchased specifically for the project by the applicant or project partners, travel costs directly associated with the project, partner or subcontractor work contributing to the project, as well as waived indirect costs such as G&A or overhead. Additional sources of matching funds are federal, private, or other non-Commonwealth of Virginia grants or contracts that support the same work proposed in the CRCF application and align with the CRCF project's period of performance. Note that unlike the CRCF requested monies, matching funds do not have caps in any budget categories. They can come from one or a variety of eligible sources in any combination. As is true with monies requested from CRCF, matching funds with a higher ratio of direct costs are regarded more favorably. The budget and budget narrative are both required elements of all CRCF applications. They are two tabs of a single Excel document. The budget document is where you'll record and explain the monies requested from CRCF and provided as your match. Templates for the budget and budget narrative, like the application, are program specific. Make sure you download the correct materials for the program you are applying to. So I'm just going to quickly show you on our, oops, sorry, I tried to pull this over. So if you come to CIT's website, so let's just go to the home page, and then you come over to initiatives, you'll see the FY2018 solicitation. Once you're in the solicitation, you'll see the programs listed that you could be applying for. So you'll need to select the program that you're applying to, and then you'll find all of the key documents on the right side of that page. So you'll see the guidelines, the FAQs, and by the way, I have attached the FAQs to this presentation as a handout. Here's the commercialization program proposal template. So if you were applying to the commercialization program, this is what you would use to create your proposal. This is the budget template, which is what we're discussing. And here's a sample application, which you can use to help prepare your application. And actually, if you click this View More Documents, you would find down here the CRCF FY2018 sample budget, which I'm about to discuss. So as I was mentioning, you'll want to make sure that you have the correct materials for the program you're applying to. If you had started an application in a previous solicitation, do not attempt to reuse those templates. The templates have changed since last year, so you'll need to download our current templates and move your content to those materials. Both the budget and budget narrative tabs contain an instruction block at the top. Please review this carefully before you begin. As always, feel free to contact us with any additional questions you might have at crcf@cit.org. Finally, when you're ready to complete both tabs, you'll need to enter your CRCF reference number and project title. So I'm just going to go ahead. I tried to attach the sample budget to the webinar, but apparently it doesn't like Excel documents, so I wasn't able to do that. But I just showed you where you can download it from our page. So I'm going to go ahead though and pull over. So this is the sample budget that we have available for you to download. Now this one is not showing the instruction block, but when you download the budget to start working on, you'll see up at the top here, there's instructions on what to do as you fill out the budget. So you'll plug in the CIT or CRCF reference number here at the top of your budget, and this is where you would plug in your project title. The CIT or CRCF reference number is a unique number assigned to your project at the LOI stage when your project was approved for application. It indicates the funding program, the solicitation, and the industry sector. This is different than the 8-digit request ID number assigned by our online portal. Moving forward, please always use the CIT reference number when preparing your application materials or when contacting our staff. The program guidelines will direct you to use this number in the file name for all uploaded documents. So if you're having trouble remembering what your CRCF reference number is, it will be in the email that you received from us confirming that you were eligible to apply to our program. And as you're filling out your application online, it will be at the top of the project information page. So you can use that as a refresher before you upload your materials when you're preparing your application. Once you've entered the CRCF reference number and project title on the budget template, you'll see white and yellow cells. I think, let me just pull over again the sample budget. So here's a great example. You can see that there's white cells and yellow cells. You'll enter your data for your CRCF request and matching funds into the white cells. The yellow cells are formula driven and will update as you input data into the white cells. We've locked the yellow cells to avoid accidental changes to our formulas. If your period of performance is for longer than 12 months, you will need to contact the CRCF team at crcf@cit.org to request a multi-year template. We'll need to know which program you're applying for and how long you anticipate the project to last. It may be helpful to mention that your budget will reflect the total costs to accomplish the CRCF program. This is the sum of the CRCF requested funds and matching funds combined. For example, under the commercialization program, if you request the maximum $50,000 and provide the minimum $50,000 in matching funds, your total project costs will be $100,000. In your proposal, you'll be describing a $100,000 project. I'm using a commercialization program budget template for demonstration purposes on this slide. The budget templates for each program look very similar, but of course I'll add the caveat that even though they appear similar, they're not exactly the same, so be careful to use the correct template for your program. The budget for the SBIR and STTR, actually I need to correct myself. Yesterday I added a second slide, or a second image, which is actually of the SBIR and STTR budget. And the reason I did that is because it's a little different. It's probably the most different from the other templates, from the other programs, because you can see up here at the top, there's a little space where you enter your federal award. So you would plug in the amount of the total federal award at the top of the budget. And then you would fill out the budget categories for your CRCF requests, just like any other program. But the match column is only for optional additional match. So if you're not going to put in any money besides the federal award, then all you need to do is fill out that top block, fill out these blocks, and that's it. You wouldn't fill out anything else. But that's only for the SBIR and STTR matching funds program. So you don't need to provide us with any information on how you'll be using your federal monies on the budget template or the budget narrative. So the bottom of each budget template has cells to calculate the ratios of direct costs to CRCF request and indirect costs to direct costs. So you can kind of see that down here at the bottom of the two templates. Each program has a cap on the ratio of indirect costs to direct costs, ranging from 10% to 30%. Be sure to look at the program guidelines of the program you're applying for that specific information. But to just quickly recap, for the commercialization program, it's 10%. For the Eminent Researcher Recruitment Program, it's 12%. For the Matching Funds Program, it's 30%. And for the SBIR and STTR Matching Funds programs, it's 10%. But again, you'll want to make sure that as you're filling out information, you're looking at the program guidelines, and all of that information can be found there. You already know that CRCF favors projects with lower indirect cost ratios. So if you can keep those down, that serves you well during the review process. If you're not already familiar with direct versus indirect costs, to give you a quick overview, direct costs are ones that can be completely attributed to the project, such as labor or a consumable. Examples of indirect costs are overhead or general and administrative costs, also known as G&A. These are commonly referred to as the real costs of doing business. These are the expenses that are capped for CRCF projects. As I mentioned, the matching funds must match or exceed the monies requested from CRCF. And while the total amounts must mirror each other from year to year, the categories do not need to match each other. As you start plugging data into your budget, you'll see that we calculate several totals. One for the CRCF request, one for the match, and another for the total project budget, which of course is the sum of the two previous figures. When we talk about the maximum request amount, we're referring to the amount of monies being requested from CRCF, as opposed to the total project budget. The purpose of the budget narrative is to provide application reviewers with an understanding of how monies will be expended. It also identifies the sources, amounts, and uses of matching funds. On the Budget tab, the CRCF request and match are side by side. On the Budget narrative, the first block of the rows provide narrative for the CRCF request, followed by a second group of rows which provide narrative for the matching funds. These rows are set up to wrap text, but sometimes we notice that cells need to be expanded. It would be a good idea to double check this before you submit to ensure that all data within a cell is visible. Because every once in a blue moon, we don't realize that there's additional content below, hidden in the cell. Sometimes you can tell because the cell, you can sort of half see it, but sometimes we just never even realize that it's there. So make sure before you submit your materials to us, double check that all the content in all the cells is visible. So I have a screenshot here of the budget narrative template. I'm just going to quickly pull over the sample again to show you what it looks like here in Excel. So the first tab is the budget. The second tab is the budget narrative. So you can see it's actually one big, as I'm scrolling down, so as I already said, at the top is the CRCF request. So this is where you provide detail about monies that you're requesting from CRCF. And then down here is the matching funds section, and this is where you would provide detail about the monies that you're providing as a match. So this is a screenshot of the commercialization program budget narrative template. The budget narrative should provide a high-level explanation of the amounts and categories of all monies requested from CRCF, and your match. It should provide detail regarding how monies will be used and specifically what they will cover. The required level of detail is identified in italics under each budget category name. Of course, the more detail you are able to provide, the better. All expenses must be justified as critical to the project. The budget and budget narrative are closely reviewed during all stages of the review process. Not that it really probably would be an issue, but there's no limit to how much information you can provide us here, unlike the proposal, which does have page limits. You're welcome to provide us with as much content as you want here on the budget narrative. I'll provide some examples of what we're looking for in a budget narrative. For example, if funds on the budget are allocated for labor, your narrative should explain who these funds cover by name and/or title. It should tell us the salary or rate of pay for each person and how much time they'll be working on the project. If you have requested fringe benefits for any individuals, we expect you to indicate what benefits are included in your fringe package and the fringe rate. So I'm just going to pull over my little sample budget here. And you'll see on the sample budget, they're saying that the PI is going to work 200 hours at $50 per hour. They're using $10K to support a senior scientist for 320 hours at $40 per hour. And an additional $12,800 is requested for a lab technician for 280 hours at, I have this backwards actually. The PI is $10K. The senior scientist, the total amount is $12,800. And for the lab technician, they're requesting $7,000 for 280 hours at $25 per hour. You can see that fringe is requested at a rate of 17%, and it covers health, dental, vision, and life insurance. So this is exactly what we're looking for. For consultants and/or subcontractors, you might put funds toward an attorney to assist with a patent filing, or perhaps for an organization that will process samples for you. In this category, on the budget narrative, when you are providing your explanation, you would explain why you intend to use this individual or organization and provide their location. If any work will be done outside of Virginia, this must be explained and justified. Don't forget that all of our programs cap the amount that can go to consultants or subcontractors at 49% of the CRCF requested funds. CRCF applicants, including their contingent workforce, must conduct the majority of CRCF-funded work. As a further clarification, we know that many of our private sector applicants are often small one- or two-man companies at the time of CRCF application. For our purposes, contingent workforce is defined as personnel that may become an employee of the applicant organization as the company grows. The effort of these individuals should be logged under labor rather than consultants or subcontractors. As the final example, if a small portion of your CRCF monies will be used to purchase any equipment, describe what is being purchased and how it will be used in the CRCF project. Because CRCF is targeting technology development work and is not an equipment acquisition program, it will be particularly important to provide ample justification for any equipment listed in the CRCF requested monies. Applicants must address whether there are alternatives to purchasing, such as leasing or borrowing from another organization. You'll need to demonstrate that this equipment is critical to advance the development of the specific technology proposed for CRCF funding. Indirect costs may not be charged on equipment. Something that comes up frequently is how to distinguish between materials and supplies versus equipment. CRCF defines materials and supplies as consumables, disposables, or other short lifespan items. Equipment tends to be more expensive and has a durable, useful life of more than 12 months. As a final point that I would like to mention, a portion of your CRCF requested monies may go to support market validation activities. We specifically address what these activities are in our FAQs. So if this is something you're considering including in your proposal, please be sure to read question 54 of the FAQs. As I already mentioned, for your convenience, the FAQs are available as a handout directly from this presentation. CRCF does not provide sample proposals, but we do have that sample budget that you can download from our CRCF page. In our application webinar yesterday, we covered tips for creating strong proposals. If you weren't able to participate in that session, I highly recommend spending a few minutes with the recording that will be available later this week, or make plans to join us for the January 10 session. That presentation, like this one, contains valuable information not found within other resources. As part of today's presentation, I'll highlight some of the things to pay attention to when preparing your budget document. The first suggestion seems obvious, but it happens frequently enough that I'll address it. Make sure you save your documents with the correct CRCF number. We try to catch those kinds of errors, but certainly you'll want the correct numbers on all of your materials. The budget is such an important part of your proposal. As I've already mentioned, the budget is carefully and closely looked at during the review process, and unfortunately, many applications get hung up due to errors on the budget and budget narrative. Be sure to closely follow the program guidelines as you prepare your budget narrative. We expect numbers to be accurate. Calculations on the budget narrative should align with the budget and the proposal documents. Sometimes we see that people will make a change to one of those and forget to update in other places. So make sure that those numbers are consistent all the way through. CRCF will not reach out to applicants for clarification for more information, including on the budget. So as I was already indicating, if you make changes to one tab of the document, remember to update the second tab as well. Take time to double check your budget and budget narrative to ensure accuracy before submitting your application. Information should be consistent between the budget, budget narrative, application, and proposal. You'd be surprised to know how frequently we receive proposals where the CRCF request on the budget doesn't match what's in the application or proposal. Frequently, the periods of performance don't match from one section to another. Sometimes we see budgets with key personnel listed, but who aren't identified in the proposal, or vice versa. A common error we encounter is proposals that exceed budget caps for a particular category. As I've already mentioned, our programs all have different caps on various budget categories, including indirects, subcontractors or consultants, and market validation. You can find more information about the specifics for the program that you're applying to in the program guidelines and budget templates. This is another good time to remind you to pay particular attention to the materials that you download from our website as you get started on your application. Remember that each program has a specific template for the application and budget. Make sure that you use this year's templates and that you have the correct template for the program you're applying to. Each template will have the specific name of the program that it's for. So for example, if it only says matching funds, but you're applying for the SBIR matching funds program, you have the wrong template. All the information you'll need for the FY18 funding round is available at this solicitation landing page. You'll be able to find materials for webinars that we've already hosted, FAQs, program guidelines, sample documents, application templates, etc. And I already showed you how you can find those. My suggestion is that you get started on your application as soon as possible. If you have any questions, contact us at crcf@cit.org. In January, a colleague will be hosting another round of webinars, so if you get started on the process and find that you have questions, you're welcome to participate in those sessions. The application deadline for the commercialization program and the SBIR and STTR matching funds programs is Tuesday, January 16 at noon Eastern Standard Time. The deadline for the eminent researcher recruitment and matching funds programs is Wednesday, January 31, again at noon Eastern Standard Time. If at any time throughout the application process you have additional questions, the best way to reach our team is through the email address that I keep mentioning, crcf@cit.org. That inbox is monitored by numerous members of our team to ensure prompt responses to all the emails we receive. We are available during business hours Monday through Friday. All approved applicants and participants in today's webinar have been added to our listserv, but if you have additional team members who might wish to sign up, please visit the URL provided on this slide, and you can also find it on the CRCF main page. This concludes the prepared portion of my presentation. I would like to now take a moment to review the questions that have been submitted via the webinar control panel. Okay, thank you for bearing with me while I just reviewed all of these questions. So I'm just going to start going down in order. Someone asked the question, do matching funds need to be available in June 2018 when the CRCF grants are announced? Yes, they need to be available when the project begins. In some cases, people can request to have a start date later than June 2018. The project cannot begin before June 2018, but once the CRCF project begins, those funds need to be available. This sometimes is an issue with SBIR and STTR applicants, because if their application is contingent upon award, they might start a little bit later, but generally most projects begin in June or July of 2018, and those funds need to be available for use at that time. Somebody asks the question, how does travel work when it comes to matching fund? And they also asked that I explain more about labor when it comes to matching funds. So basically it works the same as it does on the CRCF request side. You would have to justify that the travel is necessary for the project, and then you would provide the same level of detail. So you would just tell us exactly what the monies would cover, and for the labor, you would provide us the same detail about the rate and the number of hours you would work. The next question, in our budget, we intend to provide both a cash and in-kind amount. How should we enter that information? Is there a way to clearly indicate how much of our match is cash and how much is salary waiver? So you would just clarify that in the budget narrative. So you could say, that you're providing labor as a match, and you would provide that detail for the person who's doing the work, the number of hours, the pay rate, and then you could just provide additional information to say that X amount is waived or deferred salary, and that X amount is going to be paid. The next question I have, suppose a company is providing in-kind or waived salary labor for CRCF match, and the company receives a federal contract for work that is complementary but is not exactly the same as the CRCF project. May the period of performance for the CRCF work be extended so that the waived salary match may continue for CRCF, but at a reduced number of hours per week, so that the direct labor for the new contract is also accommodated during the week. You can request an extended period of performance. I mean, that's something that would be considered during review just like anything else. So typically our projects are for 1 year or less, but you're certainly welcome to request a longer period of performance if that's what works with the matching funds that you have. The next question, for the percentages that I mentioned under the budget template, were those for direct costs to CRCF request or for indirect costs to direct costs? So this is one of the changes to our budget this year. The ratio is for direct costs to the CRCF request, or it's actually the indirect, so we're looking at the indirect cost, the percentage of that from the monies requested from CRCF, and the indirect cost, but it is for just the monies requested from CRCF. So I can pull back over. I had showed you guys the budget, sample budget earlier, but I'll just pull that over again because it will show us. We didn't look specifically down here at the direct cost ratio, but you can see here the monies that have been requested in this sample budget adds up to 91% of the, it's a 91% ratio direct cost to CRCF request. So I'm going to go ahead and take the budget back out, but please feel free to download that and review that at your own convenience as well. And if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to us. All right, I'm trying to, let's see. If an organization provides equipment or facilities, how does that work? So you would need to provide us with the value of that equipment or of the facility. So, you know, that's something that you would have to justify the rate for the time on that equipment. So if it's equipment that you rent or that could be rented somewhere, that could be a basis for the time spent on that equipment. But if you have additional questions about that one, because it's a little bit specific, feel free to email us and we'd be happy to provide more information. Somebody asked another question about the cap and how it related to the indirect rate, so I believe I've now answered that question. Somebody says that they couldn't find the presentations on their website. So you know what, I'm just going to show you again. So I have the website pulled up. So if you come here, so if you go directly to the FY2018 solicitation page and you scroll down, you'll see here there's a section called Webinars and Regional Briefings, and here's where you can register for upcoming presentations, but you'll see after the presentation has occurred, we post the slides, and soon we'll be posting the video for your benefit. Hopefully that answers that question. Somebody asked if it's possible to receive an award for less than the amount requested in the submitted budget, or awards given in the full amount or not at all. In fact, we have occasionally given awards for less than the entire amount. In the application webinar yesterday, we mentioned that CRCF has become very competitive, and we do try to award all the monies that are available to us. And in some cases, there are so many projects that the RTAC and CIT board would like to fund that they've chosen to award more projects for slightly less money. So that's a possibility, and you know, that's not something that we necessarily control, but I know that is something that has been done in the past. And sometimes, you know, a subject matter expert may decide that part of the project should be funded and another part shouldn't. So absolutely, that's something that may happen, so you should be aware that that's a possibility. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened. So I'm just trying to look through here. Somebody asked, they said that they're currently in a phase 1 SBIR and are proposing a phase 2 SBIR, which would start in July of 2018. Is it correct that I would use the proposed phase 2 as the matching funds contract rather than the phase 1? So I would say if the phase 1 meets our criteria, it actually makes sense to use the phase 1 because you already have that money in hand and it's already guaranteed. If you need to use the phase 2, which you certainly may do, the CRCF award would be contingent upon the federal award. So if you do not receive the federal award, then you would not receive the CRCF monies. So that's really up to you. Either one could possibly be used. As long as the phase 1 award is eligible by the criteria that's listed in the program guidelines, then it's not a problem to use that. Somebody asks, is there a pay rate cap for subcontractor and key personnel? There's not a pay rate cap. So I mentioned the 49% cap for subcontractors overall. So that's 49% of the monies requested from CRCF. Having said that, we certainly do look at pay rates when we're evaluating the proposals. So, you know, your pay rates should be reasonable because they'll be reviewed through all stages of the application process. That's all the questions I have now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wind down. If somebody else thinks of another question, later, please feel free to contact us at crcf@cit.org. I think I've answered all the questions, but if for some reason I missed one, absolutely, please follow up with us at the email address that I provided. And we really appreciate you participating in our webinar today, and we look forward to seeing your application soon. Thank you.